I'm Gary C. Johnson. You've seen these billboards and ads that say size matters. I agree. The size that matters is the size of the results the law firm gets for their clients. We have several multi-million-dollar verdicts here in Kentucky. In fact, our firm owns the record for the single largest personal injury verdict in the state of Kentucky. That's the size that matters to you. In Kentucky, give our firm the call.
If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson drives for every dime.
Welcome to Simply the Law of Life, a program created by attorney Gary C. Johnson. Simply the Law of Life provides free legal advice and encourages happiness and quality of life. Now, here's Simply the Law of Life with Gary C. Johnson and Keith Casebolt.
Hello, everyone. Welcome in to Simply the Law of Life. I'm Keith Casebolt, my dear friend and the creator of the radio program, Gary C. Johnson. Good to see you.
It's good to be seen. Hey, wonderful.
It is. It
Life
is indeed.
Good, my friends. None of you are criticizing, condemning, or complaining.
It's such a waste of time, isn't it?
Hopefully, to the extent you can, you're being impeccable with the word. We've been talking on the TV and on this show some about the thoughts in our head and how we tend to be our own worst enemy when it comes to trying to get ahead or being happy and not being miserable. So today we're going to talk a little bit and read from a couple of books that we've got here. The first one was written in the 30s by Dale Carnegie, How to Stop Worrying.
Oh.
And he touched on the thoughts in your head. I'm going to have Keith read you just a short excerpt from what he said about thoughts.
This is a wonderful book. I will tell you, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie. And this is chapter 12, 8 words that can transform your life. A few years ago, I was asked to answer this question on a radio program. What is the biggest lesson you have ever learned? Well, that was easy. By far the most vital lesson I have ever learned is the importance of what we think. If I knew what you think, I would know what you are. You see, our thoughts make us what we are. Our mental attitude is the X factor that determines our fate. Emerson said, "A man is what he thinks about all day long." How could he possibly be anything else? I know with a conviction beyond all doubt that the biggest problem you and I have to deal with, in fact, almost the only problem we have to deal with, is choosing the right thoughts. If we can do that, we will be on the high road to solving all of our problems. The great philosopher who ruled the Roman Empire summed it up in these 8 words that can determine your destiny. Our life is what our thoughts make it. Yes, if we think happy thoughts, we will be happy. If we think miserable thoughts, we will be miserable. If we think fear, we will be fearful. If we think sickly thoughts, we will probably be ill. If we think failure, we certainly will fail. If we wallow in self-pity, everyone will want to shun us and avoid us. You are not, said Norman Vincent Peale, you are not what you think you are, but you are what you think. Good heavens. Gary, is it truly that simple?
No.
I'm glad you gave that answer, because I'm sitting here saying we could all fix everything in an instant if it was that simple.
It's wonderful to say, I'm not going to think any negative thoughts, only positive, right? And then you try to do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Well, it was great advice, but I'm sure all of our friends are sitting there saying, look at all the things that come at you throughout the day and everything going on. How can you walk around saying, I'm just going to be happy?
But he touched on it, the problem, the thinking, the thoughts.
Is that when he said, depending upon the thoughts you choose?
And he touched on maybe the solution to it. You are the thoughts you choose.
Ah, okay, now I'm with you.
Okay. Now, But he didn't get that all the way there. But I do believe that a lady by the name of Nancy Collier did figure it out. And her name, the book is Can't Stop Thinking by Nancy Collier. She says, you are not your thoughts, contrary to what Dale Carnegie and all those other people were saying.
Yeah. Now, Dale is saying it's depending upon the thoughts you choose.
And that's basically what she's saying.
Uh-huh.
Is you can't. She's saying you can't control your thoughts. They will be there.
They're going to come no matter what.
The question is, how do you deal with them? Do you buy into them and make them you? That's the issue.
So was Dale Carnegie on track in his book?
He was on track. He just hadn't got there. But then again, she's a psychotherapist.
Yes.
And she's been around, and there's been a lot of books. I mean, he was in the 30s when he wrote this.
Almost 100 years ago.
A lot of thought and things have been written since then. So we're going to read a little book in the forward, just the introductory part of her book, to give you some idea of what she has to say about how your thoughts impact your life. Keith, go for it.
The book is Can't Stop Thinking, How to Let Go of Anxiety and Free Yourself by Nancy Collier. And this is where we're going to start. Addiction. It may sound ridiculous, disrespectful, or absurd to compare the process of thinking, something so utterly natural, productive, and important, to something so dangerous, destructive, and out of control as an addiction. A friend, upon hearing the topic of this book, raised her voice to say, thinking is not like shooting up drugs or drinking. Human beings think. That's what we do. Thinking is useful, necessary, creative, and miraculous. It's what distinguishes human beings from other species. The ability to think is a good thing. Thinking is the source of invention, imagination, problem-solving, organization, to say nothing of putting together a grocery shopping list. So I'm not suggesting that we give up thinking. In fact, we couldn't even if we wanted to. This is not an anti-thinking book. In fact, I'm delighted to be thinking right now as I write these words. Thinking itself, this natural ability of the mind, is not what causes us to suffer. Thoughts themselves are not inherently the problem. It's our belief that the thoughts require being thought about. What causes us to suffer is our identification with the thoughts, the belief that we are our thoughts. This is the real issue, and precisely what makes it so difficult for us to disentangle from the thoughts and find freedom in our own mind and our own life. Now, that was pretty deep.
It's like you said, the issue is you can't control your thoughts. They will be there.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, are you those thoughts? Or are you going to distance yourself from those thoughts and just observe them, understanding you can't prevent them from happening? If you're miserable, you're going to think miserable thoughts. Now, if you buy into those thoughts and accept them and become part of those thoughts, you will be miserable.
So, in a sense, Dale Carnegie was on track.
Yeah.
He was saying if you choose those negative thoughts, negativity is going to be in your life.
My friends, we can't control the fact we have thoughts. One of the things she says in this book is you have no control over your thoughts that come in your head.
Mm-hmm.
How many of you ask to think about what you're thinking about when the thoughts come?
So, Gary, is this back to the form of criticism, how criticism can hurt? When you say we don't have control over thoughts coming into our head, it's just like we don't have control over another individual who would want to criticize us.
Right.
People are going to say things about you. They're going to be critical of you, and we can't control that.
You're going to say things about you and be critical of you.
But we don't have to accept it.
But you don't have to buy into it.
I got you.
Is what she's saying.
Okay, so you can do the same thing with your thoughts that you can do with the individual sitting across the room who just said something bad about
Dale
you.
Carnegie said in the 30s, choose the thoughts and the thinking that you're going to use. The rest of it, just observe it, acknowledge it's there, and move on.
So the big mistake is we would never choose to believe somebody who is putting us down or saying bad things about us, but yet we've been choosing to believe ourselves because those thoughts popped into our head.
Take the toilet paper issue. Somebody said, well, there's going to be a shortage of toilet paper.
And everybody...
The thoughts popped into everybody's head, I've got to go to the store and get toilet paper and stock up on it. Well, that was thoughts.
Yeah. Just thoughts.
I.e., they caused a shortage.
Because everybody bought into it and believed it.
They accepted the thought that said that.
So now, many of us have 30 packs and 20 packs and 15 packs of toilet paper all piled up because we thought there was going to be a shortage.
We are, and I'll say it, and I've said it on this program before, we ourselves are probably the only true enemy we have. And it's those thoughts that come into our head that make us hesitate, that make us not go forward, the fears, the worries, worrying about what's going to happen. There's people worried about climate change to the point of where that they are really miserable because of it. There's no question there's climate change happening.
No question.
Do what little bit you can to conserve and quit worrying about it.
Because we won't be here.
You can't change it. You can't change. You shouldn't worry or let the thoughts come into your head about things you can't change.
You know,
Now, if the thoughts come, and they will, observe them from a distance. Don't buy into them.
and we get bombarded day in and day out. If you watch the national news, negative. It seems like it's all gloom and doom and the sky is falling. You rarely ever hear any kind of good news, so then those become our thoughts and the things we're thinking about.
Well, it's deliberate to keep you watching.
It works.
And it works.
And they know that.
The question for my friends, though, is how do you deal with it in your mind?
Well, this next part...
Read us a little bit more,
Yeah,
Keith.
the next part you just circled for us is, are you addicted? Now, I think this is a great question to ask. A lot of people are addicted to social media. So the question is, are you addicted to thinking? Do you find it hard to stop thinking about certain things, even when you absolutely want to stop thinking about them? Do you feel like your thoughts control your attention and your mood? You're probably addicted to thinking, which means you're normal. And yes, you can be addicted to something that's natural and good. From that, you've got to ask yourself, can you be addicted to an activity that you enjoy and benefit from? Can you be addicted to something you can't live without? While your thinking addiction may not cost you your job or your land, you end up landing in rehab. Nonetheless, your behavior is similar with results that are similar, destructive, and painful. To start, let's consider the aspects of addiction discussed in the American Psychiatric Association's most recent book, The Bible of Sorts for All Things Psychological, and apply them to thinking as an addiction. Question to ask yourself, does thinking sometimes negatively impact my overall well-being?
Amen.
Amen. Of course it does, because it brings on stress, because you're worried. Has thinking created problems in my relationships? Of course.
That's where the assumed imaginary slights.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. How can you apologize for something you don't know you did? Yeah. Have work or home responsibilities been neglected because of thinking? Yeah. When I notice that I haven't been thinking, do I experience fear or anxiety or a sudden excess of thinking? Do I find myself thinking more and spending longer stretches of time thinking? Have I tried to cut back on thinking? Do I spend a lot of time thinking? Has thinking led to physical and psychological health problems? anxiety, or depression. It is amazing how many people are going through anxiety and depression. Have I cut down or stopped doing activities because of thinking, and do I ever look forward or to crave thinking? If you're like most people, you answered yes, probably 6 or 7 of these questions. Every person that I've ever interviewed, without exception, has said that their thinking is in one way or another creating a problem in their life and disrupts their overall well-being. Now, as I'm reading that, I'm thinking, what about that? I'm thinking about things we can't let go. Maybe it was a job in your past, a relationship in your past, a lost opportunity. But we get these things and we hold on to them and we keep thinking about them even though they're gone 10 years ago.
And we don't want to.
No.
That's why she says we are not our thoughts. You did not invite those thoughts to come in to aggravate you about what happened 10 years ago. Right? Nobody would.
They just show up.
They just show up on their own, uninvited, and tell you that they're you, but they're not.
So when someone says, I can't believe I dreamed about this or whatever, it's been 10 years since then, but yet those thoughts are still popping into your head about whatever that situation was.
Right. It's coming out of your subconscious and your life experiences. And they're random, and they're illogical, and they're primarily based on emotion.
So you're saying detach from it.
As she said, detach from it. She says, become a witness to your thoughts. Assume you are or have a camera, and you're recording the thoughts, and you're watching them.
So it would be like watching a movie. You wouldn't take it personal.
And when those thoughts are leading you down the road of being miserable, or feeling bad, or not liking yourself, or feeling unworthy, just become an observer of them. Say, okay, go ahead. Now I'm going to move on.
Oh, that sounds so good and so easy to do, but I think my friends are going to realize it's not that easy. I've got one more part that I want to read on this. Remarkably, no matter how much we suffer as a result of our thinking, we keep at it with the same faith and thinking will provide the solution to whatever ails us. We continue doing what we've always done, despite inarguable proof that much of our thinking is not productive, and it actually makes us more anxious, stressed, and unhappy. We keep doing the very same thing that harms us while hoping for and believing in a different result. We do what we've always done, and we end up getting what we've always gotten. You keep discussing it over and over and over, and you're not being productive because the issue is no longer around.
What she says is we all believe that if we think enough about something, we can solve the problem. She said if you've been thinking about something for a year or two, thinking's not going to solve the problem. Give it up.
In other words, move on. There's some things you're not going to solve, right?
Right.
You can't make people love you. I mean, there's things
You
in
can't
this...
change a relationship if it's gone sour.
You can't change another human being. That's right. You can't go back on a lost opportunity.
You can't undo it.
No.
And now you can go over 1,000 times the different ways you should have done something. But that doesn't change the fact it's never going to happen.
So if you've made a mistake in your life, and it was 20 years ago, and you say, I just can't get over this mistake I've made, you can't fix it. This book is saying, the author is saying, move on. Stop thinking about it.
And if you can't stop thinking about it, just observe the thoughts, but don't buy into them. Don't encourage it.
Gary, is this the reason that we can give good advice to a friend who may have a problem, but if we have the same problem, we can't give ourselves that advice?
Yep.
And that's because of the emotion?
Emotions, how many times have I said on this program, are crazy. There's nothing rational about any emotion, whether it's fear, whether it's love.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing rational about an emotion. Emotions will kill you. They will make you jump off of a bridge. They will make you miserable. They will make you depressed. They will make you do stupid things. They will make you say absolutely, totally stupid things.
Yeah. Now, years ago, I wouldn't have believed that until it happened to me. I went into the hospital and thought I was having a heart attack with chest pains. And all my vitals were perfect. My health was perfect. And the doctor said, "Have you been under some stress?" I said, "Okay, let's take off all the little patches and let me go." But that thinking and the stress can physically affect you.
People have died from panic, the stress of panic.
Yes, fear will do that.
That's an emotion.
That's
a thought.
Whether you have a fear of heights, a fear of flying, a fear of life, whatever your fear is.
Well, I read something the other day about fear. It said when you're born, you have automatically two fears. One is a fear of falling, and the other one is a fear of loud noises. All other fears are learned.
Really?
Now, I'm almost positive that you're born with a fear of snakes.
That's one thing you and I agree on, brother. I don't care what kind of snake it is. I have a fear of snakes.
I read something one time said, "I'm afraid of big snakes, little snakes, and even sticks that look like snakes."
Gary, on this program, Dale Carnegie was on track.
He was in the 30s.
In the 30s, he was saying you've got to choose the thoughts that you want to think about. And
you will think about the thoughts. You have to choose the thoughts that you want to accept as being you.
Because they will be you.
Right. But you can ignore the others, and they won't be you then.
But this lady is telling us you can ignore them, but you're not going to stop them from coming in.
No.
It's going to happen. You're going to have negative thoughts.
Well,
what was that stat you gave us the other day that you have
60,000 thoughts a day, 85% of which are negative.
When you read that from this book, after the program, I was riding back from doing the show with you, and I was thinking, how can we possibly make it? 60,000 thoughts come into our head every day, and 85% of them are going to be negative.
It's a war.
Good Lord. No wonder we have a tough time trying to be happy.
Well, we're going to spend some time on our future programs on this.
It's a great book.
We're going to do a lot more reading from this book you're reading there. And hopefully we can give our friends a little bit of insight into how to deal with their worst enemy, which is themselves.
Yeah.
Because remember, this year we're supposed to be happy. Until we can figure out how to deal with these thoughts, we don't have any hope of being happy.
Hey, a lot of good things coming up. Summer is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
First day of summer coming this weekend. Father's Day is coming up. Happy Father's Day to everyone. The sun is shining. The pandemic has slowed down. Things are getting back to normal. There's a lot of good things to be happy for.
So, to the extent we can, my friends, be happy.
My friend?
It is a choice.
I think that's the biggest thing, is what you're empowering everyone with is that they have the choice. Bad things are going to happen, but it's how you choose to take those things.
Well, life isn't a rose garden.
No.
And if it was, it would still be full of those little stickly things that stick you.
That's a good point. Well, we've got our work cut out for us. So from Dale Carnegie to Nancy Collier, good lesson. We will think. We just have to choose the thoughts that we want to be us.
Right, that we want to accept.
That we want to accept. You can catch Gary's television program, Simply the Law of Life, on Tuesday nights, 7 o'clock on WYMT, your CBS affiliate in Eastern Kentucky. We're on late night on WKYT, your CBS affiliate in Central Kentucky in Lexington. And if you start the week early and you start the weekend early, you can catch us on your Fox affiliate 6:30 a.m. Monday morning and 6:30 a.m. on Friday morning. And if you would like to get in touch with Gary, that's Gary at GaryCJohnson.com. My friend, it feels good to feel good.
Amen.
Amen. On behalf of Gary C. Johnson, I'm Keith Casebolt. Thank you so much for sharing this time with us. As always, Gary and I look forward to seeing you again next week, right here at this same time.
Thank you for listening to Simply the Law of Life, a program created by attorney Gary C. Johnson. Until next week, may you be safe, blessed, and happy.
If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson cries for every dime.
I'm Gary C. Johnson. You've seen these billboards and ads that say size matters. I agree. The size that matters is the size of the results the law firm gets for their clients. We have several multi-million-dollar verdicts here in Kentucky. In fact, our firm owns the record for the single largest personal injury verdict in the state of Kentucky. That's the size that matters to you. In Kentucky, give our firm the call.